Welcome guys to another video. Today we are looking at the summary of our 2021 summer EV road trip in our 2021 Kia Soul EV Limited. So this video is going to consist of three parts. The first part is going to focus on things that worked on the trip itself. The second part is going to be things that didn't work out so well. And finally, the third part, we're going to look at all of the stats from the trip, how many kilometers we drove, how much we spent on charging, how many chargers we visited, and anything else that would be interesting for you guys, I think, to know. So make sure to stay tuned till the end. Then you'll get all the numbers and all of the juicy details. All right, so let's get started. So we begin first, I've got my notes here, by the way. First, let's have a look at things that worked on the trip for us. So this is based on the whole almost 1 week of travel around British Columbia and Alberta. So the first one, I would say, it's the very low consumption of the car. How low? Well, like I said, stay tuned to the end to find out how low we went. But I was really pleasantly surprised. I don't know if many of you know, but the Kia Soul EV is basically a box on wheels. There's no other way to put it. So when I first got it, my biggest worry was always going to be consumption, and I wondered what's going to happen with day-to-day use and even longer road trips. But after this trip, I didn't have to worry. So number one is very low consumption of the vehicle. Number two, very comfortable. Compared to the Niro, which is the other EV from Kia currently. I mean, there's going to be the EV6 and so on, but right now on sale in Canada, we've got two of those, right? You sit up much higher, so you have a better view of the road. And I feel, for me personally, the ride height, the seats and everything, I'm not a small guy, so it was super comfortable. Based on the hours that we traveled every day, which was around 500 kilometers, so that took about 5 to 6 hours with charging, so on, right? And eating and so on, right? So basically for me, very comfortable. Family was super comfortable. My son sitting in the back, sharing space with all of our stuff. He was super comfortable. So I would say comfort for extended road trips like what we did with the Kia Soul EV, not a problem. So I highly recommend it as a vehicle that you guys can take for longer road trips. Plus with our Limited, we have heated seats, ventilated seats. So we have all of those creature comforts that come with it. All right, number three, the charging network. It's good. I mean, I will put it at things that work because I never had to wait for a charger, never showed up and the charger was broken. It was very smooth sailing. As I planned it out in a Better Route Planner, by the way, if you guys are not using a Better Route Planner, you should. A link will be in the description. It's not an affiliate link, but it's just something that I really like using. Based on what I planned with a Better Route Planner, we were almost on point with what we did in terms of our consumption. So when we got to chargers, it was not an issue. There was never a time where I felt that I had range anxiety or I felt that I wouldn't make it to the next destination or the next point on the map that we were going to. So definitely that is a bonus. Next one, number four for me of things that worked is advantageous to go below 10% SOC or state of charge. I've noticed that as soon as I go below 10%, my charging speed increases, and especially on those really quick chargers like Petro-Canada EV fast charger or Electrify Canada, those that can do, you know, over 100 kilowatts, those chargers are going to charge the Kia much better, much faster. So you're going to get 70 to 75 kilowatt speeds, which are the max speeds for this car anyway. But that's because we arrived with a warm battery, number one, because we were driving, obviously. And number two is because we went a little bit deeper into the pack, which is also quite important that I've noticed, okay? And then five, honestly, this is just when you travel with families, I think you have to take this into account. The charging speed of the Kia Soul EV for us was sufficient. What I mean by this is a family of three with a 10, almost 11-year-old son, we had to stop quite often, toilet breaks, so on and so forth, right? So if we had to eat food or do other things, we would plug in, we would charge, we would finish everything that we had to do, and the charging at that time would stop. You're looking at around 40 to 45 minutes, from around 10% to 80% on a fast charger like Electrify Canada or Petro-Canada. So that gives you plenty of time to go and grab some food, go to the toilet, stretch your legs, do all the things that you need to do, and come back to a 80% charged car and then be on your road. So we actually enjoyed it. I have friends of mine who have Teslas, and they say that sometimes they don't have enough time to do all the things that they need to do because the car charges so fast, right? So yeah, but for me and for us as a family, I think this worked. All right, guys, so those were the 5 things that I think worked really well on this trip for us. And I had no issues with the Kia that, you know, were anything major. So, all right, so that's the 5 things that worked. All right, so now let's focus on the things that didn't quite work. Like I said, there is not so many negatives, but there is a few things that I would like to have changed or made better. And it's not only by the car itself, but by the whole infrastructure of charging and traveling long distances in an EV. So the first one, because we traveled through national parks. One of the biggest ones that we traveled through was Jasper National Park. And the lack of charging infrastructure is something that struck me as a pretty big negative, I would say. You know, in Canada, we always talk about the environment, right? How important it is to protect our natural beauty. And I believe that EV drivers like us, or like everybody else who drives an EV, they should be rewarded for the way that we are trying to lower our emissions. So having chargers at national parks would have been super advantageous. Unfortunately, this did not happen. So as soon as we entered Jasper, I knew that I had to stick to the speed limit. So I didn't go over the speed limit, which at national parks in Canada is 90 kilometers an hour. And make sure that I charged when I could. And there was really only one place, apart from the city of Jasper, where you could have charged on the way there. And it was a level 2 charger, and one of the chargers didn't work. So effectively, there's only one. So if somebody else showed up, they would have to wait. So I would say that, especially in places like this, places of natural beauty, I think that the government, especially the government of Canada, should you know, invest a little bit of money and provide us with a network of EV chargers that we can use while we're there. It would just make things a little bit easier. But, you know, I was really happy with the car because sticking to the speed limit, as I, you know, planned it out in a better route planner, I was able to make it to Jasper and still have a little bit of juice left over. So, you know, the car is really efficient. Like I said, you know, efficiency on this trip was amazing. You know, it was summer, right? So that plays into it. But yeah, I was very happy with that. But yes, more chargers, especially in the national park that we visited, which was kind of a surprise to me. That apart from Jasper City and Saskatchewan River Crossing, which was in the middle of our trip there, through the park, those are the only level 2 chargers there, okay? Next one, hotels. I would love for as many hotels as possible to install level 2 chargers for their guests. The one hotel that we stayed at in Hinton, Alberta, had a level 2 charger, actually 2 chargers outside. And since it's Alberta, not many people drive electric cars there, not as much as here in BC at least. The charger was empty every night, so I was able to charge up to 100%, which made the whole trip so much easier. So now I'm going to try to seek out hotels that actually have chargers. I'm going to give them their business because I think that, you know, as EV owners, it's a benefit. You know, I don't mind paying a couple of bucks even if they need to. But if I'm staying at the hotel and there is a charger and I can use it free of charge, not a problem. On this trip, the only other instance where I was able to charge at the hotel was during the first night where we stayed at Revelstoke at the STOKE Hotel. I'll put their website down below because you guys should support them. And while I was there, I went to the reception and I asked, because I saw some just plugs outside, right? Along one side of the building. And I said, hey, do you guys mind if I plug in my car? Because I'm driving an electric car. It would be nice if I could charge overnight a little bit. And they had no problem with that. So I had my level 1 charging cable plugged in and charged a little bit overnight, which is, nice. Every bit counts, right? A little bit of juice goes a long way. And then the last one is travel distance. Okay, so basically sometimes we drove a little bit too much, and I think that was kind of to our detriment, especially during the last day where we had to drive almost 900 kilometers back home because of the forest fires. That's a little bit too much. With an EV and the charging and the stopping and so on, I think that the sweet spot is around 500 kilometers a day. So if I would change things, I would plan it out a little bit differently. Obviously, my last day, plans changed. So we decided, okay, we're just going to go home. But if I was going to plan routes from today, if I'm going with a family, I would do no more than 500 kilometers per day, which would mean that there would be one charge somewhere in the middle of the trip, which is enough to go to a toilet break, food, whatever, right? And then you charge at your destination. So stick to 500. It makes things easier if you are traveling with a family. So yeah, not many things that didn't work, eh? Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Driving with an EV on a holiday, not a bad idea. So this is what you've been waiting for. Part 3, how much did it cost? What was the consumption? All of the juicy stats. So let's start. I gotta look at the phone. Let's start with the total kilometers that we drove. So we drove a total of 3,361 kilometers over 6 days, which gives us an average of around 500 per day. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. Every day we were going somewhere, doing something, yeah. And then the last day, obviously, this was our big push home. And here's the big one. What is our average consumption throughout the whole trip? So the average consumption for the whole trip is 17.3 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. I'm going to put all the stats up here so you guys can see, which I think is pretty good considering the car is basically a box on wheels and filled to the brim with 2 adults, 1 child, and all the things that we needed for the entire trip. We had camping gear, we had clothes, we had food, we had a stove, we had a coffee maker. Yeah, we had a coffee maker as well. We like our Nespresso coffees, so we took it along. And total car on time / driving time, if you believe this number, because we did sit and idle in traffic sometimes. So that was 47 hours and 18 minutes total car on time. So that's not bad. I was pleasantly surprised with the 17.3 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometer consumption, or in Tesla speak, 173 watt hours for a car like that. Definitely very good. So throughout the whole trip, we visited 16 chargers in total. Some of them were level 2, some were level 3 fast chargers. So that was pretty good. Pretty good trip, and we managed to always find charging and never had to wait for anything. So these are the stats. Okay, so I would say overall pretty good. Okay, and now the most important stat: how much did it all cost? Right, that's what everybody always wants to know. So we spent a total of $113.33 Canadian on charging. Okay, so that's not bad. That's very, very good. If we were going in a gas car, obviously that would be way more expensive. My old gas car, My Fossil did 9 liters per 100 kilometers on average. And going through the mountains and hilly areas, you would use way more gas than normal. So yes, EV trips are doable, 100%, especially here in Canada. Same can be said for other countries, I'm sure. Would I encourage you guys to go and buy an electric car if you want to do road trips? Yes, of course. Certain cars like this Kia Soul EV, very good for that. There are others, obviously. If you have a decent sized battery, if you have decent range, and you plan out your trip using a better route planner, or in other ways if you wanted to do that, that's up to you. All of it would work. So yes, very good trip. We enjoyed it. Now we need to plan something for the winter, just so we can compare the difference between driving an EV in summer, optimal conditions, versus winter, not so optimal. All right, well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.